Hey, what's up? This is Roeh Love, and I'm so happy to be back with another episode of the Maroon podcast. Today's episode is going to be real dope. We're going to be talking about multidimensional awareness. But before we get into that, I just want to let you guys know that I actually have a website. It's called www.roehlove.com. That's www.roehlove.com. And this website has a collection of services as well as subscriptions that you can join if you're interested in, joining my community off of YouTube or joining my Patreon community. This is the website that you would basically go to find everything Roeh Love. So make sure you tap in. Now, I want to talk about something that I have, right? It's called Multidimensional Awareness, and it works exactly the way it sounds. Now, for years, this is how I've been able to do these little so-called psychic readings, and I never really liked the woo-woo of it all, but when I was learning about the occult, the woo-woo was definitely the training wheels for many of my discoveries, and now I understand why the woo works the way that it does, and it's simply because of the quantum field. Now, I believed completely in the woo, and I still do. But when I discovered the quantum field, or when I better yet became aware of it again in this incarnation, I realized that all of the things that work in this matrix, in this realm, work because of belief, right? And by the way, did you know that every version of yourself exists now? And when you merge timelines, you kind of merge like a highway to the path that gets you where you're trying to go to. I want you guys to know that you're constantly shifting, and most of you don't even know it, but you really believe that life is happening to you, and in all actuality, you are the creator of your own life path, and therefore it's happening for you, not to you. You are not an innocent bystander. For some, this may be hard to comprehend, and I totally get that, but that's a part of the decolonization program and the alignment program. And you have to first process that you are embarking on a new truth and give yourself some time to actually decompress and adjust, or you'll drive yourself nuts. Now, I used to think that time was a straight road, okay? There was birth at one end and there was death on the other. And the world told me to keep my head down, move forward, stay in line. That was the programming, the colonial grid, so to speak. And the design that said there is one truth, one order, one approved rhythm for your becoming. Inaccurate. So I woke up one morning and the line was gone. It had melted into like a web of light. Threads looping, crossing, touching, and in that web, I could feel myself in 1,000 directions at once. And I realized I wasn't just on the path, I was the entire map. Now, multidimensional awareness is that remembering. It's the state where your consciousness perceives many versions of reality at the same time. It's not imagination. It's perception expanding past its old leash. Now, most people live as though the past chases them and the future taunts them. I don't. I stand in the center of all my timelines, watching them breathe. In one, I'm sitting here with this mic. In another, I'm in a quiet kitchen pouring tea. In another, I already made the move that future me was afraid to make. And each version hums on a different frequency, but all of them are me, and each one a proof of what I can choose next. Colonial thinking has trained us to see reality as property, something fixed, fenced, owned by institutions and their calendars. And they taught us to obey time instead of dance with it. But time isn't a master. It's clay, and awareness is the hand that shapes it. When I timeline jump, I'm not escaping, I'm reselecting, and my awareness locks onto a new probability field. Slightly different version of reality, and I begin to experience that one as my current life. Now, the shift is subtle, but you can feel the switch. The air changes, the light has a different tone, people respond with slightly different eyes, and you start noticing conversations that feel familiar but end differently. And that's the quantum slip. It happens when my energy signature matches the coordinates of another timeline. Now, colonial belief systems call that delusion or witchcraft because they couldn't regulate it. They could not understand it. They couldn't tax multidimensional freedom. So they rewrote reality as something external, something owned by their gods, guarded by their law, and managed by their clocks and their calendars, which is an entirely different conversation. We'll talk about the Gregorian calendar and the moon calendar, but not today. So reality isn't external, it's participatory. And every thought is an instrument tuning the field. Every emotion is a command code. When I raise my frequency, I don't need permission. Reality reorganizes to keep up. I'm the one driving the ship. Imagine holding like an old radio dial, right? You turn it slightly and the static dissolves into a new station. That's all timeline jumping is. It's a shift in resonance and like a new broadcast of self. You don't need rituals to beg for it. You need awareness to allow it, which gets into the law of allowance, which is another episode that we have to get into. I want you to feel for the subtle deja vu that doesn't confuse you but confirms you. Feel for the warmth in your chest when you sense a version of you that already knows how this ends beautifully. When that session hits, breathe it in. That's your consciousness aligning with another coordinate and you're stepping through. And now, by no means is this fantasy. Physics quietly agrees, okay? At the quantum level, everything exists as probabilities until an observer collapses them into form. And that means choice. True conscious choice is the technology of creation. Now, you were told the world is solid, the colonial lie, make people believe their cages are concrete so they stop noticing the door is imagination. The new truth is actually simpler, and it's not a new truth. It's an old truth, and it has always been the truth. And, you know, some people would like to believe that it's dangerous or delusion, but it's not. But the universe listens to coherence, not compliance. Now, when your awareness becomes coherent, when what you think and you feel and you believe stop contradicting each other, because many of us do that, you start jumping timelines naturally. And what you believe will stop contradicting each other when you phase out old systems and programs and welcome in the new ones without questioning yourself. But that's a process within itself as well. Now, you slip from scarcity to sufficiency, from fair to knowing, and from waiting for miracles to realizing you are the mechanism of miracles. And that there is multidimensional awareness. And you'll know you're there when your old self feels like a dream you woke from. And the dream starts taking advice from you. You know, I talk to my past selves all the time. Sometimes they ask for courage. Sometimes they just want proof that we made it. I tell them that we did, and we keep doing it. Across every version, every loop, every light thread of what we call time, that's how I live now, in full spectrum consciousness, okay? Not just a single dimension, not as a survivor of linear time, but as the actual architect of time, the actual architect of my time and my existence and my consciousness, all right? So let's take the robes off this mystery and look at it like science class, only this time you're the experiment. At the smallest scale of existence, the quantum level reality stops behaving like the solid, predictable thing you've been taught it is. And if you were to zoom far enough down into the chair you're sitting on, the mic I'm speaking into, or the hand you're holding over your chest, you discover that nothing is actually solid. What looks like matter is mostly space, and inside that space is movement. Tiny flickers of energy that blink in and out of existence faster than you can blink your eyes. Scientists call these like flickers particles, but here's the part that breaks the linear mind. Those particles aren't just sitting somewhere waiting to be found. They exist as probabilities and a whole cloud of potential positions, speeds, and directions. It's like billions of possibilities just swirling around, each one saying, pick me, I could be the reality you experience next. So the question is, how does one of those possibilities become real? Well, someone has to observe it. Someone has to realize it. And that's the observer effect. In simple terms, nothing has a definite shape or place until something conscious looks at it, measures it, and gives it attention. The act of observation doesn't just see reality, it creates the version that gets seen. So as you can see, it starts with you. And I want you to pause there for a second and let that sink in. Pause the video if you need to. Let that sink in. Because that one idea cracks open everything you've ever been told about fate, prayer, and the so-called real world. When you visualize something, let's say abundance, healing, or reconciliation, you are performing the same act that scientists perform with their instruments. You're the observer, collapsing the infinite cloud of possibilities into one tangible outcome with just your mind and the way that you choose to think. You're not inventing a new thing out of thin air. You're selecting which version of existence you'll experience with what you believe and what you meditate on. So every thought, every emotion, every belief is an act of measurement. And each one says to the universe within this matrix, this right here, this is what's real for me. And then you experience it, right? So now quantum mechanics has another trick up its sleeve, which is known as entanglement. And it sounds complex, but it's actually simple once you visualize it. Now imagine two particles created together like twins born from the same spark. Even if you separate them by galaxies, they remain connected. When one changes its spin, the other responds instantly, no matter the distance. Scientists have tested this over and over, and the link is undeniable. Now, translate that into consciousness, right? Everything that's ever touched you, known you, or been dreamed by you is entangled with you. Every version of you across timelines, every person you've loved or lost, every potential reality, they're all connected through that invisible thread. That's why when your inner world shifts, when you finally forgive, when you declare you're done settling, when you decide you are worthy, the outer world begins rearranging without delay. Now, conversations change, opportunities surface, people appear who seem perfectly timed. It's not coincidence, it's entanglement, responding to your new frequency. You didn't attract something new. You resonated with the version of reality that was already waiting for this signal. Now, let's break the physics down even more, right? Picture a giant ocean. Each wave is a possible reality. Love, loss, wealth, sickness, art, exile, triumph, every possible storyline vibrating at its own rhythm. Your consciousness is like a tuning fork dropped into that sea. And the moment you strike a certain emotional tone, peace, gratitude, certainty, you start resonating with the waves that match it. And those waves rise up to meet you, and they become the water that you swim in. This is manifestation stripped of superstition. This is the part where I remember at the beginning of this, I was like the woo-woo. Like, this is the woo-woo being taken away from you, okay? It's resonance physics. It's not magic. Now, I will still use words like woo, and I will still say things like magic because I love the mystique of it all. But at its core operation, I understand that this is resonance physics, and I want you to understand the same thing as well so that you can manifest the way that you would like to manifest, and so that you can see the results that you want to see. If you're able to understand, because I know that when I heard this for the first time, I didn't understand shit. It took me about 8 months, okay? Now, your thoughts set the frequency, your emotions power the signal, and your belief keeps the transmission steady long enough for reality to organize around it. It organizes around you and your mind and your intention and your frequency. It literally adjusts to you. But a lot of people have been programmed to adjust to everything around them. And that's so backwards, okay? That's why randomly wishing rarely works. Most people think one thing, but they feel another, and they believe something completely different. It's just not in alignment. And their signal flickers on and it flickers off. And so the field doesn't know what to stabilize or what to manifest, because when your inner state becomes coherent, mind, emotion, and belief humming on the same note, the universe has no choice but to reflect it back in its form, right? Or back as form. So the world doesn't grant your desire, it becomes it. It becomes it when everything is in alignment. Just like I said, you have to, your thoughts have to set the frequency. Your emotions have to power the signal. Your belief keeps the transmission steady long enough for reality to organize around it. This is the way that it is simply done, okay? Again, the world doesn't grant your desire, it becomes it. Now, here's the real alchemy. You never actually change the past. You merge with the version of you who already made the change. Now, think of timelines as like pages in a massive book, right? Every page already exists. You don't rewrite them. You simply turn to the one that holds the outcome you prefer, and the old page doesn't disappear. It just stops being the one you're reading. When that happens, the feeling is unmistakable. You'll feel that change. What used to seem far away suddenly just like feels obvious and easy and inevitable. And opportunities appear that you'd be chasing for years. People treat you differently, even though you never announced the thing. You're inside the new chapter, and it reads as if you had been there all along. And I first discovered this with a trip to fucking IHOP. Like, I went to IHOP, and they didn't have the strawberry cream cheese New York cheesecake pancakes that I love so much. And I got so upset, and I was like, what manager will put this on the menu, keep it on the menu, and not have a backup just in case they miss their truck day, which is what the waitress was telling me. And I was so upset. So anyway, we left. And that following morning, I was like, no fucking way. The truck doesn't come till Thursday. Go back there. And when we went there, it was like, it went from being like a dingy old rundown IHOP, I shit you not, with waitresses that didn't give a shit, to the most professional IHOP that was fully stocked. And listen, you can ask my husband. Like, it was crazy. I could not believe my own freaking eyes, okay? So again, when this happens, the feeling is unmistakable, and what used to seem far away suddenly feels obvious, easy, and inevitable, like I said, right? And that's the signature of a merge. That's what people call a miracle. But it's not supernatural the way that they explain it. It's just you operating consciously within the laws of quantum physics and quantum mechanics, okay? So if you take anything from this lesson, let it be this. You are not a beggar at the gates of creation. You are the observer, the tuner, the participant. The quantum field isn't separate from you. It is you vibrating at infinite speeds, waiting for your attention to give it structure. Now, every time you visualize, feel, and believe with clarity, you collapse another probability into form. That is manifestation, not magic tricks. Not woo-woo, not a wish list, not wishing upon a star, not hoping, not having faith, but the physics of consciousness selecting its own experience. It is a selection, it is a choice, it is a decision. Remember that. That's the science under the mysticism. Even though I love the mystique, it is science. That's quantum mechanics meeting manifestation. So, let's talk about what happens after you understand that reality is probability. Because once you see that every choice opens a new timeline, you start noticing you're not just moving through time, time is moving through you. And that's where this loop reveals itself. We think of time as a road. Yesterday behind, tomorrow ahead. Well, maybe you guys do, but I don't think of it that way anymore. But the deeper truth is that time folds, okay? It bends around gravity, emotion, and intention. Just like Einstein said, and just like Interstellar, okay, my fucking favorite movie, right next to The Lion King, showed us when Cooper fell into the black hole. Remember that scene? He's floating in that like 5-dimensional library of existences and reaching out through light and gravity to send a message to his daughter that she was receiving at the beginning of the movie when the book fell out of the bookcase. If you have not seen this movie, you have to go watch it. Listen, the movie was based on reality, like the real reality, not the one you've been believing all this time. That wasn't fiction. That was a map. And the loop means that past, present, and future are not in a line. They're stacked. So every moment exists simultaneously, and your consciousness is the traveler weaving through them. You don't jump forward or back. You pivot within the stack. When I timeline jump, that's what I'm doing. Choosing a new coordinate inside that loop. And sometimes the shift is dramatic, like waking up in a new version of your life or a new version of IHOP, where an obstacle quietly dissolved. And sometimes it's subtle. Someone calls you by a nickname they never used before, and an old scar fades faster than biology can explain. Yes, it's possible. And the jump itself is felt in your body first, right? It's like a hum under the skin. Have you ever felt like your skin was humming or tingly? That's one example. Sometimes it's a flicker behind the eyes, a pressure change in the room, like shifting, the ringing in your ears. Those are all subtle shifts of reality. Okay, you ever watched Matrix and the cat walks by 2 times because there's a glitch? Like something changed in the timeline? Yes, yes. They're putting it in the movies. Yes. Think about it. Don't just watch it, right? Your nervous system registers the new data before your mind can interpret it. Okay? And that's your inner gyroscope realigning to the new trajectory. Now, accessing alternate versions of self. Let's bring this into practice, right? When you want to shift timelines, don't chase outcomes. Tune identities. I'm going to say that again. When you want to shift timelines, don't chase outcomes. Tune identities. Ask yourself, who already lives in the reality I want? Close your eyes. See that version of you as clearly as you can. Their breathing pattern, the rhythm of their day, the sound of their confidence. And when you have it, match that motherfucker. Breathe as they breathe. Think as they think. Move as they move. Because that will be you synchronizing data streams across the loop. That's how you merge like a highway, like I was mentioning at the beginning of this episode. Now, there's one method, right? I fucking love this method. And it's very subtle. I tell all my clients to do this, okay? Journaling. Yes. Journaling is another portal. And you need to journal and write as if that version of you is mentoring you. I've been doing this shit my whole life. Journaling. And I don't even do it on purpose. But when I discovered quantum mechanics and quantum manifestation, I was like, oh shit. I have always journaled like I'm talking to myself. Now, and this is where, when people call you crazy for talking to yourself, don't fucking do that shit. Do it. Because it's you coaching the older version or another. I don't want to say older because it's not about time. But it's like you coaching the version of you that's in transition, that's synchronizing to the version of you that you have chosen. Okay? You say things in the journal like, here's how I handled it. Here's what finally made sense. That's not a fantasy. It's feedback signal traveling across dimensions. The same way Cooper knocked books from a shelf to give his daughter, he was like, stop me. Don't let me go. Don't let me go. Yes. All the versions, it's so crazy. All the versions of you exist right now, man. They exist right now, right? And you got to recognize the shift. You'll know you jumped when it when like reality wobbles, synchronicities multiply, numbers repeat, people you haven't seen in years suddenly reach out, time feels rubbery, minutes stress, days vanish. That shit happens to me all the time. I be like, where did the days go? Okay, did y'all realize that we are in October 2025 right now? Like, what the fuck? It was just January 1st, 2025, and people couldn't believe we made it. And guess what we're about to do again? Make it. I also want to tell you that the Gregorian calendar is bullshit, but that's for another episode, okay? When you catch yourself finishing a sentence someone else just started, it's the universe confirming alignment, baby, okay? It's that whispering that you're on a new frequency now, all right? Now, stabilizing a new timeline is the part that matters most. When you first arrive in a new version, your old programming tries to pull you back. Yes, this is where that confusion, that contradiction that I was telling you about earlier, that's where that comes in, right? So you have to stabilize through ritual, like with physical anchors. Touch something that symbolizes the new reality, even a piece of jewelry or a scent. Let's talk about the woo. So, do you know that when you enchant an object and you say, anytime I touch this object or wear it, or when I perform something at my altar, this happens? That's you like changing your timeline. It's getting you into the belief that's necessary for the timeline to change. All right? And then we also have like language anchors where you speak in present tense. This is who I am now. Practice that as well. And then there's body anchors where you ground with breath, you eat, you stretch. The body convinces the brain that the change is real. You know, the hard truth is, that's so funny. The hard truth in a world that's not solid. You saw what I did there? Anyway, reality is plastic, okay? And the body is the mold. Keep the mold steady and the new form sets. Now I want you to understand the loop. Here's where Interstellar becomes a teacher. When Cooper reached through time to guide his past, he wasn't defying physics. He was demonstrating entanglement across the loop. His future self became the ghost his daughter saw as a child. She thought she was seeing a fucking ghost. How many times you thought you was seeing a ghost? It could have been another version of you implementing change in the current timeline so that you could synchronize with that timeline that you existed in, so that you can become exactly what it was that you chose to become. I hope that makes sense. All right, so the past didn't change. It expanded to include the message. And that's what you do when you send love, forgiveness, or intention to your past selves. You are the ghost, so to speak, in your own timeline, whispering across dimensions. We made it. Keep going. And when your younger self receives that nudge, a sudden calm, and when I say younger self, I'm not talking about time. I'm talking the younger version of yourself, because you only age because you believe you're aging. You know, the you that you were yesterday is not the you that you are today. It's an older version, because time is also a construct of belief. And so you are constantly creating an older version of yourself. And that is why it comes off as linear, but it's really cyclical. That's something I'll get into another time as well. I'm always coming up with these side thoughts. But yeah, when your younger self receives that nudge, a sudden calm, a strange intuition, things like that, that's the loop completing itself, okay? We're not trapped in the loop. We compose it. Every jump writes new music into the spiral, and the universe listens, adjusts, and plays it back as synchronicity. Now, there are a few things that I want you to remember before I close out, okay? Time is not a cage, it's a chorus. Every version of you is a note already vibrating in the field. When you align your awareness, you don't escape the song, you sing harmony with it. That's the timeline jump. That's the loop in motion. And if Interstellar taught us anything, y'all gotta go watch that movie if you haven't. And if you have, watch it again. Because if it hasn't taught us anything, or if it has taught us anything, I should say, it is this. Love and intention are the gravity that bends time. You are that gravity. When you start to live like this, aware of loops, jumps, and alternate selves, it's easy to feel split. One part of you still has to answer emails, make food, pay bills. Another part of you keeps watching the sky bend. And integration is the art of letting both be true without collapsing each other. Okay? Now, we're going to go through a few points. Okay? Number 1, the human as an instrument. Think of yourself as a 3-layer device: body, mind, and field. The body grounds the current timeline. It's your anchor to gravity and rhythm. The mind interprets the data stream, translating vibration into meaning. The field, your energy body, is the signal tower that broadcasts which version of reality loads next. When the signal gets too strong without grounding, people drift into fantasy or burn out. When the body dominates, the signal dulls and life feels flat. Integration is keeping all 3 tuned. No one louder than the rest. They must be balanced. And here's a practical check-in that you can perform on a daily basis or even an hourly basis, okay? Ask yourself throughout the day, which layer is driving right now? If your mind is racing, drop into breath. If your body feels heavy, move around. If your energy feels scattered, simplify the scene. Dim the lights, play some slow music, and focus on one thing at a time. Number 2, identity as a fluid coordinate. Colonial conditioning taught us to think identity is a cage, a name, a job, a gender, a role. Multidimensional awareness reveals identity as a coordinate. Sorry about that. That was my alarm going off. It's a location that you occupy within the infinite map of selfhood. You can shift coordinates without betraying authenticity, just as you can walk from one room to another and still be you. When I merge with a new timeline, I let identity update naturally. Some people notice subtle differences, my speech rhythms, the way I phrase things, even which colors feel right. I don't resist it anymore. That's the body uploading the new code. Letting identity be fluid dismantles the colonial obsession with control. And you're no longer a fixed citizen of one version of reality. You're a traveler with multiple passports. Number 3, emotional integration. Now, every jump brings data from other selves, like memories, moods, fragments of futures. Without integration, those fragments feel like anxiety. With awareness, they become intelligence. And here's how you process them. A, witness, don't label. When emotion floods, name it information, not problem. B, write before reacting. In your journal, okay? Journal the sensations as if you're collecting evidence from another world. C, ask, what timeline is this feeling from? Sometimes you're mourning an outcome that hasn't even happened here, okay? And D, transmute. Breathe the energy up the spine, exhale it through sound or movement. And emotion completes its circuit when it's expressed. And that's emotional physics. Charge must move or it implodes. Number 4, relationship integration. When you change, your relationships either stretch to meet you or dissolve. Don't panic when dynamics shift. People are entangled particles. When you alter your spin, theirs must reorient. And some fall away because they align with your previous frequency. So go ahead and release them gently or aggressively if they're toxic. The key is to communicate from observation, not defense. Say things like, I'm recalibrating. If I sound different, it's not rejection, it's resonance. That phrase alone has saved many of my connections across timelines. Number 5, here's the maintenance protocol, okay? Daily grounding for the multidimensional self. In the morning, before touching your phone, say out loud, I claim the timeline of peace, clarity, and prosperity. Midday, step outside, feel sunlight or wind. Let the body confirm location. This earth, this now. In the evening, close the loop. Whisper gratitude to all versions of you still working behind the wall, behind the veil. I often tell people that when I go to sleep, I'm still working because there's more than one version of me. And all the versions don't go to bed at the same time, okay? Like in the famous words of Happy Hour, it's 5:00 somewhere, okay, baby? So it's someone awake, one version of yourself awake somewhere while the other sleeps. All right? And these acts aren't superstition. They're synchronization points, tiny rituals that prevent fragmentation, okay? Number 6, living openly without disassociation. Living openly without dissociation. The danger of awakening is believing this world no longer matters. Okay? Be careful. That's an ego trick disguised as enlightenment. And the goal isn't to escape the matrix, it's to reprogram it from inside. Okay? So eat real food, touch real people, pay real attention. Grounded mysticism is the only sustainable mysticism. Don't get carried away. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. If you can't laugh, cry, and pay a bill in the same day, you're not integrated. You're orbiting denial. Okay? Integration means letting transcendence wear sneakers. Stay grounded, baby. Number 7, closing transmission. Lower voice, slower cadence. These are all how you will close your transmission, okay? At the end of the day, all right? Now, we are not separate lives spread across time. I want to make that clear. We are one consciousness tasting itself in different temperatures. And the timeline loop isn't a prison, it's a spiral staircase, and you rise by remembering. Every time you choose awareness over fear, you rewrite the algorithm that colonialism installed. Every breath in alignment sends a ripple across the loop, blessing your past and fortifying your future. So live fully here, now, while knowing here and now are relative terms. And be the scientist and the spirit. Be the proof and the mystery. Because integration isn't the end of journey. It's the moment you realize the journey was always inside you. You've just walked through an hour of mirrors, each one showing you another face of truth. The science, the mysticism, the timelines, the loops, all of it folds back into one point: awareness. Everything begins and ends there. We're told consciousness is a byproduct of biology. But look closer. Consciousness is the architect and biology is its artifact. Okay? Blah. I get my tongue tied sometimes. The field thinks, then the form follows. All right? You are that field, constantly sketching, erasing, redrawing existence with every observation and decision. So pause, take a slow breath in. That inhale is a download from infinity. That exhale is your signature, proof you were here. Now, picture the loop again. The spiral of your lives, each version of you walking upward through time. Every turn of that spiral is lined with choices. Moments when you believed or doubted, stayed or leapt. You can send light through that coil at will. And you can bless the version who doubted, thank the one who leapt, and integrate them both into this breath. That's how the architect repairs their own building. By turning compassion into geometry. I don't know if you guys know about sacred geometry, but we're going to talk about that one day. The colonial illusion taught us to fear our own power, to outsource it to priests and governments and gods with other names. But power was never the problem. Disconnection was. And the moment you remember that every cell hums with the same code that spins galaxies, you stop asking permission and you start designing. And design doesn't mean controlling. It means collaborating with the field, composing with it. You whisper intention and the universe rearranges its scaffolding around your tone. That's what manifestation truly is. Not a wish list to the cosmos, but a conversation between equals. So here's how we end this. By collapsing into one frequency. Say this. I am the observer and the observed. I am the wave and the witness. I am the architect inside the loop. Say it aloud, slowly. Feel the echo move through your chest. That vibration is the new baseline reality forming around you. And from this point forward, nothing you create will come from desperation. It will come from coherence. Nothing you lose will mean absence. It will mean alignment. And every time you feel yourself fracturing across timelines, remember, fractals aren't broken. They're repeating perfection at different scales. Welcome to Multidimensional Awareness. Welcome home to the version of you who never forgot. This is your girl, Roeh, and I'm signing off. I hope this episode was able to let you think and process. And until next time, peace.